demos. 102, for example. Here you do command injection, and there's a couple earlier projects you can practice doing basic Linux command line commands if you're not familiar with them. You do need to get pretty good at using the command line to move on here. But here's one of the simple command injections. Here you have a ping form. You'll see this in your router control page. So if you give it an address, and the only one that works on my server is the loopback address, so it'll send pings. Now you should notice this is not the output of PHP. This is the output from the command line ping command, which suggests what's really happened here. And here's the code written by this developer. This is a really bad practice. If you don't figure out how to do what you want to do in one language, you can create a line of code and hand it off to another language to be interpreted. This is how you get command injection vulnerabilities. So in my PHP code, it takes ping minus C2, and then it puts in data that came from the user, and then it executes that command. So you are controlling something that goes to the command line. You're only supposed to be the user. You're only supposed to be allowed to put in data, but because of this construction, I can put in commands. I can put semicolon ID, and it will then run the pings and then execute the ID command that tells me who I am. And I am the Apache user, www.data. This is running in the context of the Apache web server. So I can do anything I want. I can do an ls. Got to get rid of the I though. I have to put a semicolon there. So I'll get a list of files on the server, and so I can start printing out the contents of files. And so there are some files to find on this server, and they get harder and harder to find. And you might have to use ls, grep, cat, and find. I get a lot of students coming to the help session telling me they can't figure out how to use these commands. You can try reading these pages I linked to. These days I would use AI. Ask an ChatGPT or one of the other LLMs, how do I list all the files in the current folder and subfolders with one of these commands? And it'll probably just tell you right how to do it. And so as you go ahead, give it a try. I think LLMs will help you solve these challenges. That's right what they're good for. So that's the first case, where you just have an obvious way to inject commands. Here's one that was pretty amazing. This is one of the ones, I think it came around in like 2014. All Linux servers are vulnerable to this. This and another one at the time convinced everybody to stop saying Linux was more secure than Windows. So here I need an image. Let me find an image, like this textbook image will do. Save image as. Okay, I'll put it in the download, sure, shcover.ping, that's fine. All right, so if I can feed an image, this is standard code that everybody was using at this time, so I can go to my downloads, and there's the cover. Okay, so you can upload an image. And what this is going to do is use a tool to convert it to a thumbnail, and it's still spinning, but it's going to create a thumbnail version of it that's only 300 by 300 here, yep. And you can see that, and if you click it, it'll show your full-size image. And this is what you might see in a profile for a social network or anything that handles images. So that's what's going on. Now the problem is, it did it this way, convert thumbnail with the old file and the new file that's created. So this is the original file, and this is the file that's shrunk to 300 by 300. It executed that command line command. And that would be fine. But the problem is the people that wrote this wrote this library we're using, which is called ImageMagick, did not write it safely. They used the same kind of flaw as in the ping form. So if I go to my text editor and I put in this content, what's going on is they would allow you to add text to your images in the same file, and in that text you'd have the ability to put a background color behind your images. And then you could fill it with a color, and then for some reason they said you can fill it with a color that's variable and comes from the web. So you can fill it from a URL. And the way they implemented the URL is by just executing the command line curl command followed by whatever the person put here. So they made the same mistake I did on that one. I put ping followed by user data. They put curl followed by user data. And in both cases, that means by adding a few punctuation marks, you can add another command. So here's a URL, and then here's another command, echo hello and date. So you save this so it looks like an image. I'll put it in downloads and call it ex.ping. It's not an image, but it has a PNG file name. And now if I upload that one and run it, then it executes hello and the date. So I can now execute commands on the server. So I can make an ls, for example. I could get rid of this date and put in ls. Save that, send that image up again. Now I get a list of all the files. And see there's a few files here. So there are some flags hidden in these files. And so you can find them and get some points the same way. It's just that you have to change that image, fake image, and upload it every time you want to run some commands. All right, and then there's Drupal, which is even more fun. Drupal is an alternative to WordPress. It's an open source content management system, and it had a whole series of mind-blowing vulnerabilities that you could totally take over the server, and they call them Drupalgeddon and Drupalgeddon 2 and Drupalgeddon 3. Really bad vulnerabilities. And so this server I put up is one of them. I have a vulnerable website here. Now, if I put it up on the internet, it'll be taken down within minutes because there's automated processes exploiting everybody in Drupalgeddon. So I put it behind a username and password of student1, which is not hard to get in, but it means that people can't get in. Automated processes don't take it down all the time. And I added no content to it. Just running the Drupal engine alone is enough to make it vulnerable. And you can run this, any machine that has Python you can do to run this attack. So I'm just going to use my Mac directly. I could use that Linux machine, but there's no real reason to. Let's make a directory. Make it demo spring 25 there. All right, now nanodrew.py. All right, this is the exploit code. All this is doing is registering a new user at the user register form, and somewhere in the register form, one of the parameters had another vulnerability like this. So here's the demonstration. I echo smiley face into yourname.txt. You can't print anything on the screen. You have to put it in a file, and you can't use a greater than sign. You'll often find that certain characters are forbidden when doing command injection exploits. This will create a file called yourname.txt on my server with that smiley face in it. Now the problem is you can't erase files, and you have to keep, every time you make a new command, you have to make a new file. So I need to change this name every time. So I'm going to change it to, what's today's date? 0203. That'll probably make it unique. There's 3 places to change it. Okay. And 0203. All right, I'll save that. And then Python 3 drew.py. Okay. It says it worked, and the output is here. Let's see if it's true. If I go to a browser and I look there, it works. There's the smiley face. So now I can try other things, like if I go back and edit my file, I can, instead of doing echo smiley face, I can do ls. And I better change this name, 203A. There. So I run it again, and now it's here at 203a.txt. So there you go, all the files. Now this one, one trick about this one is the students are all creating files all the damn time, so it's all full of random files students have created. They probably have all kinds of wrong names. So here's some clues. You look for the good files that were actually created in 2019. All the ones created later are ones students created. Students have created things with names like flag and fake flags in them, either intentionally or by mistake. So that's the simplification command injection on Linux. And let me stop this video.